Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Steve Grosso, President and CEO of Auxilior Capital Partners. Thanks for joining me, Steve.
Hey, Jesse, thanks for having me.
No, it's great to have you on here. And, I'm just going to start off and thank you and Auxilior again for hosting September's EFC event at your office in Plymouth meeting. You guys were amazing hosts, and I think everyone in attendance really enjoyed themselves. So
yeah, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it? We really enjoyed that. All our employees and associates enjoyed it. And it was good to see a bunch of old friends and meet some new ones. Right?
Yeah. What was interesting is there were people there that I didn't think that have seen each other for, it was north of 10 years. And I don't think that they live that far away from everyone. It's just, we're all busy. We all have our own things going on. It's nice that we can kind of come together as a community for common goals. And it was exciting.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the AFC cares is a really cool thing because it does reunite some old friends, and obviously it's expanding the network of the industry, which is also a really good thing.
Thank you for that, Steve. So let's dive in, if you don't mind. So in the unlikely scenario that someone watching or listening to this doesn't know you, do you mind just kind of giving your career to date in equipment finance?
Well, we only have about a half an hour, right? I'm old and I've been around this space since I've been a kid. So, yeah, thanks for that.
Sorry.
It's okay. I literally started in this industry right out of school. I came out of school not really super focused on what I wanted to do in the world of finance, having an accounting and finance degree, and I landed in a training program at ITT Industrial Credit. Traditional credit operations, asset management, collections, and met a guy that is still with me today. He's been a mentor and a friend, and can call him family, Don Campbell. And that association has withstood the test of time, and we've been for the most part on, a little bit off periodically between companies, but for the last 40 years, the two of us have worked in various business models and different ownership structures in equipment finance, ranging from U.S. banks, from ITT, went to Fidelity or First Fidelity, which today is a long part of the lineage of Wells Fargo. Went to the international banking arena with Tokai Financial Services, which is now DLL. I ran that business for 4 years. After we sold it, Don retired for the first time, and then didn't get a job I wanted, and said there's a place for an independent that has a great service priority, and started a business that Don and I, in each other's kitchens, wrote a business plan and raised money, some of it our own, and then ultimately took that business through a few different capital structures, including a public stint on the Toronto Stock Exchange. That was Element, and then spun out the U.S. business and sold it to PNC, all being the same desk, same building for 20 years, same web address, same telephone number, same seat and furniture. That's PNC today. And then felt there was a real opportunity, and continue to feel that there's a real opportunity for a great service company, priorities being clear. And that's where Auxilior was founded.
No, perfect. And thank you for that. And one of the things I've always appreciated about you as a leader is your group of support people that run your operations, run your town. They follow you where you go for the most part. So that must speak volumes of how you are as a leader, Steve.
Well, I appreciate that compliment very much. I would suggest to you that, culture is everything. We believe that, and that's an amalgamation of those that have a common belief system. The people at Auxilior, it's an interesting mix. We have a lot of seasoned professionals, the people you alluded to that have been longtime associates, executives that have had a successful career and decide to do it again in a different way, a different business model. They have that passion of rookies. And then there's a constituency, a conscious decision on our part to hire younger people. And, of our mix of people, our demographics, we have a significantly younger and trainee workforce because we just believe that, that's the future of our company as well as our industry. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate the compliment, but it's a whole hell of a lot of fun. And candidly, when you get people that are like-minded, you can accomplish a lot.
Yeah, and that's always one of those tricky things, especially when because the organization hasn't been around that long, right? And you're onboarding at a beautiful facility there, just outside of Philadelphia, and then COVID hits. It's how do you hire these younger workforce and bring them into your culture when people might not all be in the office at any given time?
Yeah, well, maybe we don't focus on premise-based or remote or hybrid. We are a premise-based business. Flexible work arrangements are part of our environment for the last 25 years. I mean, at Tokai and at DLL when I was there, we had job sharing and compressed work weeks and flexible work arrangements, and that's just being in tune with what the objectives of the company are. So if you were to look at Auxilior, we quite frankly just lucked, Jesse. I had a year off because of my employment agreements, when I decided to pursue something else. And I could tell you I had the benefit of thinking about what we wanted to do culturally. I don't believe that training, teamwork, leadership, and ultimately the ultimate piece being service happens in a relatively new company without being, face to face. So, there's a lot of folks, Jamie Dimon and Elon Musk, that have been very well uh, documented in the press about their feelings about it. We just don't bang our chest about it. That's just what we do. And candidly, if we rally around a common cause, which is really, our mission to be a leading, partnership-based finance company, then, the rest of those things have naturally evolve, and you get focused on what you want to accomplish versus, some of the nuances that are less important, as I see it.
No, that's a great that's a great point. I mean, I was just kind of wondering because I have been in the industry for 17 years. My first job, for 6 years, I was in an office and I was a part of the culture. For 10 years when I worked for LTI, I was remote. But
Mhm.
the good thing is you get to go to a lot of trade shows, right? So you get to see people and everything else. And it's not like I was running the team. I've pretty much been a party of myself for the last 17 years. But trying to understand a culture or setting it, um, I agree. It's premise based. There's certain jobs that you can do anywhere, but especially for some of these things, it's like you need to be in the office.
Yeah. Yeah, and those are passages in time too. I mean, again, we're going to approach $1 billion this year, and we're less than 2 years old. But all organic, and we're working hard. And again, everybody's working hard right now. I mean, with the economy and what's going on globally, all of the things that are front page news in terms of supply chain disruption in our space, in terms of heavy industry or highway transportation or even the franchise business, uh, there's a lot of dislocation or disruption, and uh, it it takes a village, right? And so we're doing this together,
Yeah.
and it's just uh, it's in an early stage business. Even though many of us have worked together, we're doing things that we've never done before around technology and investments to what we believe will change the way we do business. I mean, it is so different than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. My God. I mean, when I got in this business, you've been in it 17. I've been in it twice the amount. I've been in it 40 years. So if you think about that, uh, it's incredible. And each one of these businesses is different. And that's the fun of it. But it also creates a challenge for when you're doing these things new, that unfortunately a flat panel like we're both staring at each other, it's just more difficult. Stand-up meetings, those things that happen over lunch, those things that happen on your way down the hallway, and somebody says, hey, I got an idea. So we think that innovation and solutions are today for us, it's a necessity.
No, and from a technology perspective, I know you guys are on the edge of that too, looking for automation and everything else. So obviously that helps a lot, right?
Yeah, we're making, by the way, again, that's the newness. I mean, we're not a fintech. I mean, you and I've had some of those discussions given your background. We're not a fintech, but we have technology that is cutting edge. We like to say that we're the non-fintech fintech, because, there's a bunch of us that know, how to, we're down 4 feet in the hole building the foundation. We know how to do that. We've run commercial equipment finance businesses for a long time. It's a different model today. There's a lot of folks out there that are focused on, this notion of disruption and changing the way that the supply chain is financed. We believe that, but our model is that we're a sales catalyst company, and that we need technology that works. So that's the plan, and it's really hard. We keep making mistakes, but good news is about being in an agile environment. You make them for 2 weeks, you can fix it in 2 weeks and then move on, right?
Can we not fail fast, please? Can we just not fail?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I once went to the Center for Creative Leadership out in Colorado Springs. That's a beautiful part of the world. You're out that way. And they actually proved to a bunch of executives that it's better to fail fast, right, and learn, and then apply what you've learned. So that's stuck with me for a long time.
I agree. I agree. As much as I say that just jokingly, it's like, why would I want to? It's like, I'll hurry up and move on with it.
Doesn't make it any less painful, right? Doesn't make it any less painful, for sure.
So from a just from an industry perspective, you mentioned kind of the market that we're in right now. With the rates going up like that, with some of these banks on some of these programs, I see that more as an advantage for an independent than kind of some of these programs traditionally where people are like fighting over fractions of basis points. And like you said, I mean, you're all about the service, and people and programs follow you because of the service that you and your team provide. Just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that, Steve.
Yeah, easier said than done, right? It's a belief system. It's a belief system in what creates value. You ask about the industry and what's happening. I mean, interest costs have gone through the roof, right? I mean, just you think about that, and how do you deal with that? Now, historically, equipment leasing has been counter-cyclical. What's one of the things that's cool about being my age is that the last time we've seen rapid interest rate increases like we are seeing now was the early 1980s, and I was just getting out of business school, and there was the prime rate used to be important. It's going the way as LIBOR's going away and SOFR's coming in, but prime used to be a leading indice. There were 17 prime rate changes. I can remember this being in school and just getting ready to get out of school, and there were 17 prime rate changes in the early 80s, like 81. Crazy. And people aren't understanding that. How do you raise rates? How do customers deal with that? Equipment leasing, the use of those assets makes money, not ownership. So leasing tends to have some resilience to recessionary times or inflationary times because of cash flow and all the things that everybody that's going to watch this, understands. But I can tell you that it doesn't make it easier. companies do need equipment to become more competitive and efficient. So right now, with rising costs, companies need equipment to compete. So there is a piece to this. Now, in an economy that's expanding, all boats rise. We all love it when everybody's making money.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you said it earlier when we were offline. It's a rough time, and it's going to challenge all of us, and we need to be prepared to hunker down and do what we need to do to protect our businesses and our customers.
So I was at NIFA last week, and the speaker who was on the stage asked who was in this industry, and they called the 2007, 2008 the Great Recession. Maybe 20% of us raised our hand.
Wow.
How crazy is that? That 80% of those. Now, granted, not everyone is at that, but that's amazing because it's okay. Everyone who's in that room is, well, not everyone, but the majority of people, safe to say, have only known this since the pandemic wasn't binding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out for them.
Well, I mean, having lived through a number of cycles, clearly that was one. But then take it back to the late 1990s, 2000-ish time, and then take it back to in the 1990s we had an issue. In the 80s, there clearly was an issue. So top of cycle, bottom of cycle, equipment finance as an asset class is pretty resilient. It's small, it's dwarfed by credit cards or automobile loans or mortgages, but equipment finance as an asset class performs well through cycles. I think that who could have seen COVID? You know, so some did really well. They called it this K kind of recovery. Those that have done well and those that really were decimated through it. You think about fast food, QSR, drive-through. If you had a drive-through, you were great. But if you owned a cruise ship, you weren't doing so well.
No.
So New York, plays weren't doing great, right? I mean, not because of any fault of their own. So how do you see that? So our industry, I think, had those that were really well prepared. I admire some of the people that, I was sitting on the sidelines. I mean, my last day when I left PNC was February 28th of 2020. Can you imagine? I mean, can you imagine?
Was that 2 weeks? Was that 2 weeks before it shut?
I mean, literally, my wife and I were in Key West,
Huh?
and she's worried about getting home to the kids. And I said, babe, it's okay. All right. If we have to, I'll drive because I'm unemployed. so I mean, so I was able to watch that, but it was like, wow, some of the companies in our industry that were navigating this, obviously friends and colleagues that, I spoke to because I was just thinking about what was next for me. But, we saw some incredible resilience, that whole, human X factor. I mean, it talks a lot. I mean, it speaks a lot to our industry and, the great people that have really made it what it is.
And I see some of those people as we've been coming out of, we've been out of COVID for a little bit, I think. I live in Arizona. I don't even think we did anything out here.
That's going to turn to a political conversation, Jesse.
No.
Behind us.
I gotta stay away from that. We are recording this on election day. I can stay away from all this. We were finishing building our house at that time, so there was no stay at home. It's like we had to come here and everything else. But you look at some of these companies as we've been coming out, as we came out of the pandemic, and there were a few people who were like, no, we've been fine. Virtual's fine. Everything else. And then you have some other organizations like yourself. They're like, no, we need to get in front of our customers. We need to be face to face. And I think that's, people have either succeeded more. I think they gained more business. And those people that were just like, no, it's fine. Let's save on sales and marketing. We don't need to do that. And it's like,
Hey, To each his own. All right. I mean, everybody's got to decide that themselves. I mean, that's one of the things I love about this. We can choose how we want to compete. Uh, I will tell you that the productivity statistics came out. I don't know if everybody's seen it. It's been the worst quarter for productivity, this past quarter, in a long time. So we're not as productive as a country as we should be. So I don't know if I was debating that in a forensic debate. That would be one of the statistics that I'd quote.
That's fair. That's fair. No, I did not. I did not know that. So, I wanted to have a little bit more fun for winter comes.
Why not?
I want to shift gears a little bit to something that you're extremely passionate about, you and your wife, Sharon. That's magic. I know we've talked a little bit about that before on Foundation Friday, but for those people listening to this and that might not be familiar with magic, can you just kind of give a brief introduction, Steve?
I really appreciate you bringing this up, and I'll send our thanks on behalf of both Sharon and I for this moment to maybe make it a little bit of an advertisement as well. The Magic Charities Foundation is a family foundation that my wife Sharon and I founded. It was an idea that just proves my either procrastination or incompetence. My oldest daughter just turned 22, and when she was born, she's adopted, and when she was born, I was overwhelmed by the enormity of the situation, just in terms of how she, how we became involved in the adoption process, and ultimately her birth, and I'm overwhelmed in the shower, and I get this notion that this is a magical event, and this acronym popped into my head about making a great investment in children. That was 22 years ago, and it took me 17 years later to start it, right? And my wife Sharon and I invited a bunch of friends and family to our dining room and made a quick rudimentary PowerPoint presentation that talked about what our vision was for the Magic Charities Foundation. And since that time, it's a completely volunteer-based organization. It is a children's advocacy organization, 501c3 philanthropy, that focuses on 4 priorities: adoption and foster care, education, healthcare, and then advocacy. Think public policy, local, state, federal government. There's a lot of public policy that affects children's and children's rights, and ultimately those with adoption and foster care, tangential but involved. So since 2017, we've been a operating charity. Sharon is the executive director and runs it. I chair our board. And as you know, friends like yourself from Equipment Finance Cares and a bunch of other people across the country, candidly across the world. Some of my friends in Japan are supportive of that. And we've been able to help thousands of children through primarily 2 major programs. The Magic Meals program, the acronym shifts, meeting a gap in children's meals. Children today in school that have hunger and nutritional needs are largely subsidized. I mean, breakfast, lunch. But these kids sometimes don't get dinner. They sometimes don't get fed on weekends. They sometimes don't get fed on breaks or summer. Now, there are government initiatives that are doing really good things, but there's still huge need. So Sharon runs what's called the Magic Meals program, and we've literally fed thousands and thousands of children on an ongoing basis, and then also transactionally, during the summer for a particular school or a particular constituency in the markets that we serve. Then the Magic Scholarship Fund, which is our other better known program, is which we award children, emerging students, either high school or college, scholarships, not only academic, but also non-academic impediments to their education. Think during COVID, college students that have child care, single parents, gas, internet, rent, insurances, pardon me, school supplies. So if you're thinking about basic tenets of just life, it's hard to learn. So the Magic Scholarship Fund has a bias towards adoptive and foster care situations, but not necessarily. Some of them are merit-based, but some of them are not. They're just based on need. So that's what we do. And the commercial is anybody that's interested, go to themagiccharities.org. You can get involved. We focus on three things: work, wisdom, or wealth. So we'll take your money to help kids. And by the way, it's 100% volunteer organization. We literally have no paid employees. So.
The best part is though, is if you, when you donate money to the Magic Meals program, right? Does your wife do some of the cooking sometimes?
Shannon, I can tell you, if you were to come to our house right now during the school year, over the last 3 years, this is our third year, we literally have adopted a particular constituency of kids in a school district that you would never believe has need. It's a fairly well-to-do school district, certainly middle class at least. And I would suggest to you that there are 37 children, and it's not focused upon because it's such an anomaly. People don't think about it. So every week, to answer your question, every week we pack these things. Sharon has her network that come to the house. There is a side of our house that literally is a food bank. No kidding. And then once a week I'm a mule and I pack her Escalade and she delivers these meals.
There you go. So not only do you make a donation to a good cause, but you also put Steve to work. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yeah. And the kids are nowhere around. All the kids are now teenagers, so that day they have to go to school early or they're off doing something else. So yeah, so typically I'm doing that by myself.
When you shared that in September, I was like, okay, I have to make sure I remember that one.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up, Jesse. You can rub it in. Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
So besides, the magic, I didn't know that about you until I want to say maybe even a year ago, right, when Lisa brought it up to me. I did not know that side of you whatsoever. So thank you for sharing that, Steve.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Outside of that, I ask everyone who comes on here to give a little fun fact about themselves. So obviously people that know you probably understand who Magic is, but what else would you like to share with the audience here?
Wow.
Besides that's you in the painting with longer hair about 30 years ago behind you.
Do you know who that is, Jesse? You know who that is, don't you? Do you know who that is?
I feel dumb, but no, I don't know.
So for those that are watching, this actually will dovetail into who I am a bit that people might not know. Obviously, my last name is Italian. That is a painting that I commissioned because I'm a big fan of Leonardo da Vinci's. And that's not a Da Vinci, but I commissioned.
I was going to guess to see if that was him, but I didn't want to see.
If you're familiar with Da Vinci's work, I mean, he's a fascinating man by history, right? He was obviously an architect. He was an engineer. He also was obviously he's a painter of the arts, but he also was a self-taught scientist. Think about biology in the Vitruvian Man. If you know that, and for those that do, if you look at the head of the Vitruvian Man, that's it. And that's a self-portrait, rumored to be a self-portrait that Da Vinci did and put it on the Vitruvian Man with the biology and the science of anatomy. So anyway, we love to go to Italy. I've been there 6 times in the last 10 years, and COVID kind of set us back a little bit for a few years. Sharon and I just got back, and I fully intend to keep it going because I just fell in love with the country, and it's been a lot of fun. So that was a present to me from me.
That's awesome. No, that would have been my guess. I just didn't want to seem stupid.
Yeah, no. Yeah, take a look at it. Google it for those that are there. Just go out on, Google and put the Vitruvian Man, and when you look at the head of the Vitruvian Man in that circular anatomical sketch, that's it, and that's a self portrait that Da Vinci did of himself and plopped it on the head or on the body.
I'm also feeling something for the next magic event. Maybe we put that wig on you. I could feel it.
During COVID, Sharon won't let me do that. Just trust me, it's not a good look.
Sorry.
No worries.
So, I guess my last question to you, Steve, is why do business with Auxilior Capital?
Yeah, auxiliar in Latin means to serve. So at the core of everything we do is service, and old enough and experienced enough to know that we fall down every day, but to the point of earlier where fail fast and learn from that. Our value proposition is, and one of the things that I have this time around, maybe more formally, is that this is a human company. Right? Not easy to work here, to be totally transparent about it, because we expect differently, and not for everybody. But at the end of this thing, I will tell you, it all distills down to a common belief system. That's why, and I think if you walk the halls, you were here. There's a lot of like-minded people, and candidly, we work hard at that. So I think our name says it all.
Perfect. I did not know that. So thank you for mentioning what Auxilior stands for, other than I just kept slaughtering how to spell it.
Yeah, no, you're good. By the way, there's people internally that can't say it, but Auxilior Capital Partners, auxiliar is Latin to serve. So.
All right, Steve. Well, I appreciate your time, sir. Thank you for joining me today, and hopefully our paths cross here in the near future, sir.
Jesse, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.